is faith? Well, over time, words have a tendency of changing their meanings. In fact, some words have come to mean the exact opposite of what they used to mean. Consider the word awful. A century ago, it literally meant to be full of awe. Testifying to an awful sunset would have been communicating reverence for the event. But I'm sure none of the husbands listening to me right now woke up this morning, turned to their wives, and said, "Honey, you look awful today." No, that's a bad idea. Well, why? Today, the word almost exclusively is used to describe something that's extremely unpleasant or distasteful. So ironically, the term awful has come to mean the opposite of what it used to mean.
No, it's come to specifically refer to something terrible, whilst before it simply referred to something that left you in a state of shock, either in how beautiful something was or indeed how terrible. The meaning was open and has become closed, not reversed. There are terms out there that have had that happen, but this is not one of them. Fact is, the old usage of a word is pretty irrelevant to the current usage unless we're bridging a misunderstanding between two adjacent generations who have a difference in usage, which isn't the case with faith.
I think the same is true of the word faith. Today, some people use the word faith to mean believing something without evidence. So Mark Twain, he famously wrote, "Faith is believing in what you know ain't true." This is what most people call blind faith. But this isn't how the biblical authors use the word. To illustrate my point, just look at the reason why John wrote his gospel account. He says, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." The reason John wrote about Jesus' signs and wonders, the miracles that he performed, was to provide trustworthy eyewitness evidence so that readers, you and I, would put our faith in Christ.
Well, nowhere in that passage was faith mentioned. It is, however, mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 and 2 with, quote, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for." End quote. So yeah, faith is defined in the Bible as believing without evidence in hope of something. As for the Gospel of John, which you say exists to provide trustworthy eyewitness evidence, here you're just talking utter tripe. The Gospel of John wasn't written until at least 60 years after the events of the crucifixion by a person who likely had no direct contact with Christ if there ever was a historical figure said Christ was based upon. We don't know since there's not a single secular source to verify any of what is claimed in the New Testament, whilst there are many holes in the stories written generations later. So this notion that the Gospel of John is A, an eyewitness testimony, and B, acts as any sort of evidence is just pure fantasy.
Does that sound like John didn't care about evidence? Does John believe in blind faith? Absolutely not. The mere existence of John's Gospel demonstrates that John thought faith and evidence worked together. More specifically, the Gospel according to John was written so that people would read it and put their faith in Christ.
No, it's evidence that human beings have been writing stories for millennia and that con men have always sought to make a profit off said stories. There's nothing about the Gospel of John that in any way validates its contents any more than, say, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World proves that there's a plateau in the Amazon populated by animals previously thought to be extinct. I mean, there's Professor Challenger and Professor Summerlee, both scientists who talk a great deal about the evidence, but that fact doesn't validate the story itself. Most children understand this distinction, so why do so many Christians find it difficult?
Here's an illustration I use to explain biblical faith. Imagine you're standing at the edge of Niagara Falls, and while you're watching this magnificent waterfall, you notice there's a tightrope walker named Charles Blondin. And he's walking from one side to the other, pushing a wheelbarrow full of rocks. You're mesmerized by his amazing ability, and you keep watching him do it over and over again. And he sees you, walks over, and asks, "Do you have faith that I could do it again?" You reply, "Of course. I have faith you could do it again. I've seen you do it all day." And then he dumps the rocks out and he says, "Okay, climb in the wheelbarrow." Do you get it? It's not mere intellectual assent. You believe based on evidence, and stepping into the wheelbarrow is active trust. So biblical faith is putting your trust in something based on evidence. We all understand how trust works. I trust my wife more today than when I married her nearly 10 years ago. Why? Because she's given me more reason or evidence over the last decade to put my trust in her. The same can be said of our faith in Christ. After assessing what Christ has done and is doing, we respond by putting our trust in Him. So what is faith? Biblical faith is active trust based on evidence.
No, it's really not. And yes, I predicted your equivocation of faith in a general context as being synonymous with trust against the religious definition of faith as laid out in the Bible as believing in that without any due reason or evidence. By now we're pretty used to seeing this dishonest semantic game when it comes to religious apologetics, especially Christian apologetics. One moment you'll be talking about how you don't need evidence, all you need is faith and the rest will come later. And then the next you'll be asserting that you're using faith as synonymous with evidence-based trust. Okay, we accept that on the condition that you supply said evidence and we keep on asking you to provide it. But you never actually do. All you do is keep parroting that you have to have faith and that said faith is evidence-based. But no evidence is ever provided. So from all of this we conclude that you are simply lying to us and you know full well that your faith is the religious kind of faith, sometimes termed blind faith, and that all of this was merely intended to waste our time and tell your followers that you have evidence, when you don't. If that weren't the case, you wouldn't bother with the semantics. You just supply the evidence and be done with it. But I guess some things just never change. Faith, in the religious sense, is 100% bullshit. Hi there, I'd just like to say a few things here at the end of the video. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's ever donated to the channel via Patreon, giving a special thanks to the following people: Hannah Banghart, Matthew Kovac, John Schoenrock, Alexander Williams, and Daniel Martinez. Your support has ensured this channel its ability to grow over the years, and for that we are truly thankful. Also note that the rewards for Patreon are changing next month, so be sure to check out the tiers to ensure that you know what you're getting from next month. I'd also like to ask that you comment down below and like this video, as well as subscribe and follow Essence of Thought on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Please also consider following Atheist Alliance International on Facebook, an organisation dedicated to helping atheists around the globe. Lastly, I'd like to request that you treat the people responded to in this video with a reasonable degree of respect. Whilst we understand that there are justifiable limits to said respect when tackling certain heavy topics and anger can be a genuine emotion, any comments utilising language which insults others on the basis of perceived gender, sexuality, ethnicity, or ability both mental and physical will be removed immediately and the commenter may be blocked on the moderator's discretion. Let's keep this space one which upholds humanist values. Thank you.